So today we're going to look at a really handy way of getting your vegetables started either late in the season when the temperature's not quite enough to break the germination barrier of seed, or early in the season as it would be for, say, summer beans. So particularly good for legumes. So snow peas, broad beans, it's getting quite late in early June in Melbourne, and so it's going to be very slow for things to germinate in the ground. So you can speed things up and hurry along your crops a little bit, or catch up a little bit, let's say, by carrying out some pre-sprouting. So this is one I prepared earlier, and always labelled. So these are the lovely Delta Louise snow peas. It's also handy to put on there the date I did it. I did this about a week and a half ago, maybe a week ago. Quite quick, they'll come up quite quickly on a warm windowsill. So this is how we do it. Look, for this, I'm just using a recycled takeaway container. You can use any little plastic container that has a good, or glass container with a good, well-fitting lid. You can use a jar as well, but it's just hard to get as many in that space. This way they can kind of lay out nicely and they're not entangled in each other too much. So a bit of paper towel. Again, I can add that to the compost. You can also use some cloth. I haven't experimented yet with using just an old t-shirt, and I'm meaning to do that, to be honest. So otherwise, use a bit of paper towel and you lay it out like so, a little bed. Then in this case, I'm going to do a few more broad beans. So I'm going to sprinkle those out, not the desiccant. And you can see here that I've got a mixture of green and browny red seeds, and so that's a mixture of white flowering and scarlet flowering beans. So that's probably a good number to use. So I spread them out really evenly in the container. And for large seeds like peas or beans, you need to make sure the paper is quite wet. And then we lay that over the top and push it down or settle it down nicely and put the lid on and label. Put on a warm windowsill indoors for about a week or 2 weeks. If you leave them for 2 weeks, they do tend to start having roots entwined in each other. Now, when it dries out a little bit, all you do is top up with a bit of water out of the sink. If you need to check them every day or so. And what you need to do, as I said, for these larger seeds that require a lot of moisture to rehydrate, otherwise they won't start germinating at all, you then hold them and just pour any excess off. So you need to make sure it's up to the runoff point to make sure this works properly for the peas and beans. If you're going to pre-sprout any finer, smaller seeds, then I usually wring out the paper. Look, an advantage for using paper as well is that when you do leave your seeds, as inevitably can happen with busy lives, when your seedlings start growing into the paper, you can just tear that paper gently and plant the seedling with it. Whereas if this was in a cloth, I don't know whether it would grow through. I haven't actually tried it, but there's something for people to try. But if it did grow into a very open weave cloth, then you would have trouble getting it out of there, and it might be a little bit more tricky to transplant. So these are ideal for transplanting now. So you can delicately take these out. Oh, that one's gone right through the paper. Incredible root depth, or root length, I should say, and not much sprout. That can be just delicately put into the ground, and the shoot should be just sitting above the ground like that. And when you're planting these, you firmly press around them, just gently and firmly, to exclude any air pockets. I'll just pop that back for the moment because I'm not quite ready. And water them in, and it's really important to put some form of snail deterrent. So whether that's crushed eggshells in a small circle around your seedling, or whether I'm not that wrapped in using coffee grounds for seedlings because it can tend to bind up nitrogen in the soil. So crushed eggshells can be really good. Or I also do use the iron-based snail bait because it's just easier to get for large areas of seedlings that I'm doing. And you do need to protect them for the first week or so until they get a bit of strength in them. So this is great to do in late autumn, and it's also really good to do well before, like a month before you would normally put climbing beans or bush beans for summer into the soil for germination. So you can put them in little pre-sprouting boxes well before that and get them started. And then once they have germinated, you can plant them out without any interruption to their growth. They might be a bit slower, but they're not going to stop altogether. So it's a great method to use at either end of the season.